What if it was less about not drinking and more about being the woman you want to be? Wouldn't that feel better? Hi, my name is Holly Krivokapich, a former heavy drinker who started her own Sobriety Uprising and everything in her life up-leveled. On the Sobriety Uprising, we tell stories of finding freedom from alcohol on our own terms, making it our best power move to get the life we want. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go. Hello. It is May 2nd. I am so excited to be here with you. Coming in with a little solo episode after Irish exiting and being radio silent for about a month. It's been about a month since my last podcast, and I am so excited to be back with you all today. So there is a consensus feeling of things being hard. And I feel that. I don't know if it's Mercury in retrograde, the eclipse, all the things going on, but I know for me, April was a doozy of a month. A lot went on, which is why I have not been here, which is why a lot of things that I had planned kind of took a back seat because life required me to show up in a different way than I had originally planned. So wanted to share today kind of about my April journey, especially around why I did not have any drinks this month, despite it being a lot of opportunities for me to have those drinks that I previously thought would have kind of aligned with how I want to show up. Again, Sobriety Uprising is all about finding freedom from alcohol, making it our best power move, being intentional. And this was such a good awareness month for me, along with a really challenging month. So excited to be back. Guest will be back next week. But today I just want to share a little bit of a solo episode. So my this month started with some devastating news from a really good friend of mine who got diagnosed with a really aggressive cancer. So that's just kind of shook me a little, supporting her and her family and just kind of really consuming. And then we found out that my father-in-law passed away pretty unexpectedly. So again, those two things took a lot of my energy, took a lot of my time, and they should have, right? And I share that because I know some people out there are maybe distracted from what they said they want to be doing or thought they would be doing because other things are taking precedent. And I just want you to know if you need a permission slip or an okay to be like, no judgment. No, I could have done that or I should have done all those things. Like sometimes, well, all the time, taking care of your family, your mental health, your physical health is the number one priority. So for me, a lot of the things got pushed to the side that I had originally I thought April was going to look like, right? Because I was dealing with the death of my father-in-law and supporting my wife and her family and just getting everything ready. And then also just this really heaviness and distraction and heartache of what was going on with my dear friend. So sharing that if you're in this place to give yourself the pass and the grace to be like, it's fine. I will get back to the things that are still important to me, but just not as important at this time. So again, April, and it's going into May, right? It doesn't end when the month ends, but it started out, I was going to be open to this month of having a drink because we had a trip to wine country in Texas. It was my birthday. So a lot of opportunities that would have felt aligned for me to have a drink, right? No judgment. Be like, no, that makes sense. That's when I would have them. And then other things came up, like the, celebration of life for my father-in-law, and then just seeing friends and family I hadn't seen in a while. So that was another opportunity, but I had 0 drinks, which was kind of surprising going into the month. And if you know me, if you're new to this podcast, I started my soberish journey September 13th, 2021. So we're coming up on 3 years. My drinking has decreased. Oh my goodness. I don't even know how much I was drinking at first, but right now I have not had a drink all year. Last year I had 22 drinks over the year, which I know before that was 32. And I know before that was probably in the hundreds. So currently I'm not drinking a lot. And in fact, this past couple days, I think earlier this week, actually, I set my longest non-drinking streak. So I'm really proud of that. My first one was when I started not drinking in September of 2021. It's about 117 days, currently on day 121. And so I'm not sure what that was going to look like. And again, coming off of April, it was a really interesting insights for me over this past month about why I am really stepping into not drinking as much even as I was drinking. So I really want to share kind of those 3 insights I had this month about me continuing even, almost 3 years in and working with clients and developing programs, I'm still furthering develop this growth of being a non-drinker. So I want to share kind of these 3 reasons and these insights that I, again, further developing maybe things I've had awareness of why I said no this month. One is that I wanted to be fully present for all that happened with my father-in-law's passing. I wanted to be there for my wife, for her family. I wanted to be a helpful paperwork, planning the funeral, cleaning out his house. Like, I wanted to be that person. I wanted to hold space for them. I wanted to show up and be 100% myself. And I knew it was going to be hard because of just the emotions, right? Because grief takes a lot out of us. It makes everything a little harder. And on top of the fact I wasn't sleeping like I normally was, I wasn't working out, I wasn't eating the way I normally was. Like, there was a lot of like factors that weren't aligned for me showing up as like my most energetic, my most patient, my most compassionate, energetic self. So I knew that the booze wouldn't help. And somebody who wants to be that support and is also like the go-getter, like I knew that I needed that. And yes, there was drinking around me, and yes, we celebrated, but I just could not show up with no regrets and possibly have those drinks. And maybe I could have, but that was just the choice that I wanted to make. And what's interesting is with my father-in-law, we loved to have drinks and got to eat together. That was like kind of the thing that we all did together. And I was like, "Oh, well, that'll be, the funeral after or, dinner, whatever, that will be like a good time to honor him and have a drink." And I got there and I was just like, "Mm-mm, that's not what honors him. A glass of booze isn't what honors him. It's the time together. It's having all his friends and family celebrating, telling stories. Like, that's the honor. It's not the drink." And again, if I would have chose to have the drink, that would have been great too. But just that awareness of like, no, 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 it's not about like what's in the bottle. It's the fact that we're together and we're sitting and we're laughing and we're crying and having all those moments. So I'm so very grateful that I did not have booze during that time because it just was not anything that would have served me. It wasn't anything that I was able to look back and be like, you did show up. You were there. You were there when people needed you. You helped out. And that to me is everything. So again, number one of not having drinks is just realizing what is more important for me to show up the way I wanted to or to have that drink. And again, one glass of wine probably wouldn't have mattered, right? But again, it's just that I didn't want that little inkling of it to step in. Number two this month, which did not necessarily have to do with, just kind of the heaviness of the month, but the awareness of the power of my intuition. The less and less I drink, the more connected I get to my intuition, the more like connected I get to myself because it's hard to be truly connected to yourself when you've got like another spirit inside you, right? And so I had two instances where I went against my intuition. One felt a little I don't want to say consequences because it wasn't a consequence. One felt a little bit more intense than the other, but two situations where I was like, this isn't it. And I did it anyway. Or one I did and one I didn't. And again, it doesn't matter what they are, but it was just that knowing of like, I don't think this is for me, but then getting talked into it or making up a story and just like not trusting myself. Because when I started this soberish journey, that was the biggest piece is when I was drinking and I would be like, this, I'm only going to have one, or I'm not going to drink till Saturday. I would continue to break that trust with myself. And over the past 3 years, I have built up such a trust, such a dedication, such a commitment to myself that if I ever even don't honor it a little, it like really gets to me. And so just that realization of like, girl, your intuition is tight. Like follow that. And knowing that when I put booze in, it just dampens a little. And so why would I ever want anything that's going to disconnect me from me and the universe, the spirit, what all the higher beings that are surrounding me? Why would I ever do anything to mess with that? And again, that was two instances of just that feeling of like knowing like, no, 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 this is it, this is it. And then like second guessing, right? Or those old stories we have ourselves. But that connection to myself, that connection to intuition is another reason that I just said, this isn't it. And last but certainly not least, Life is short. I know time is a social construct. I know we are time. I know all those things. And also, like, we are all a blip on the radar on the planet, which I love. The thing is, some people are like, that's amazing. And some people are like, oh my God, that's terrifying. I'm in this right now, this place of like a little of both, right? There is a sense of like, let's go because like none of this matters. And like, oh my gosh, everything matters because there's not enough time. Lord willing, I live to a like ripe old age. There's still a limited amount of time I'm going to be on this planet. I'm like a little sand in the ocean, and I cannot waste it on booze. I can't medicate the good and the bad with booze. I can't not feel good and not do the things I want to do every day, or just day turns into a week, turns into a month because of booze. Like that's just not what I'm going to do. Also, like, I'm not going to be putting a toxin in my body. Life is short. I want to like give myself the best opportunities to not just live a long time. That's like not the goal, but to live like actively a long time and passionately and with community. Like, and so really it's that sense of like, girl, if you had 2 months left to live, would you be drinking this way? Would you have a drink to not be connected with conversations or to not go experience something? It was such an interesting feeling to kind of get the news of my friend a couple of days before we buried my father-in-law, which was the day before my birthday. All these like things of like, what really matters? What really matters is showing up for my life. And booze is not an equation, is not in the equation for that. That doesn't mean that I won't have a drink at some point in the future, but it's no longer a big piece of my life. So I'm curious for you. If you had 6 months left, if you had a year left, would you want to be feeling the way you do when you drink too much booze? And maybe that too much, you get to define what that too much is, but really getting curious of like, if I had limited amount of time and I wanted to be fully present and I wanted to fully experience it, would booze take a place? Because we're not guaranteed any time. So thank you for letting me share about April. April was a really big month for me. And again, this, May is going to be another interesting one because I've got some trips coming up. I'm actually going to Vegas this weekend. So there are going to be opportunities. But again, showing up with that thought of like, can I be present? Can I show up for my family? Is this if I had 6 months left, would this be how I want to be spending them? Because it sounds dramatic, but it's also true. So thank you for tuning in as always. April, which we just finished up, was Alcohol Awareness Month. And I, as a coach, firm believer, well, not even believer, it's like the core of coaching is creating awareness, a consciousness about what we're doing. So if you are curious, you want to have a little more introspection on where you're drinking, I encourage you to go over to soberishuprising.com. I have a little quiz there. Just sign up and it'll give you kind of questions on identifying your drinking. Where are you at with it? And kind of dive a little bit deeper into what things could look like for you. Thank you so much for spending time with us. If you loved this episode, which we hope you did, please leave us a review or share with a friend. And if you're ready to explore your own version of Soberish, head over to soberishuprising.com. And remember, everything you want is on the other side of saying no to that drink.